Joseph and the amazing coat. Have you ever gotten a gift that made everyone else jealous? Maybe it was a new toy, a cool bike, or a special present that nobody else had. Imagine if your parents gave you something so amazing that all your brothers and sisters became angry. That's exactly what happened to a boy named Joseph. But Joseph's colorful coat was only the beginning of one of the greatest stories in the entire Bible. His journey would take him from being his father's favorite son to becoming a slave, then a prisoner, and finally one of the most powerful men in the world. Let's discover the incredible story of Joseph and the amazing coat. Long, long ago, there lived a man named Jacob. Jacob had a very big family. In fact, he had 12 sons. Now, 12 brothers living together sounds pretty noisy, doesn't it? Among all those boys, Joseph was special. Not because he was stronger, not because he was older, and not because he was the smartest. Joseph was special because his father loved him more than all the others. The Bible tells us that Jacob loved Joseph because he had been born when Jacob was already an old man. Every parent loves all their children, but Jacob made a big mistake. He showed favoritism, and everyone noticed. One day, Jacob decided to surprise Joseph. He made him a beautiful coat unlike anything anyone had ever seen. Some Bible translations call it a coat of many colors. Imagine bright reds, deep blues, golden yellows, rich greens. A coat so colorful that people could spot Joseph from far away. It wasn't just beautiful, it was expensive. It showed everyone that Joseph was his father's favorite. Joseph proudly wore the coat everywhere he went. But every time his brothers looked at it, their jealousy grew stronger. The brothers began whispering to each other, "Why does Joseph get everything? Why does Dad love him more? It's not fair." Instead of celebrating their brother, they became angry. Jealousy is a dangerous feeling. When we compare ourselves to others, we stop appreciating the good things we already have. Joseph's brothers allowed jealousy to fill their hearts, and things were about to get even worse. One night, Joseph had an unusual dream. In his dream, he and his brothers were tying bundles of wheat in a field. Suddenly, Joseph's bundle stood straight up. Then all the other bundles bowed down to his. The next morning, Joseph excitedly told his brothers, "I had a dream. My bundle stood up, and yours all bowed down to mine." His brothers stared at him. "What? You think we'll bow down to you someday?" They became even angrier. Soon after, Joseph had another dream. This time, the sun, the moon, and 11 stars all bowed down before him. Joseph even told his father. Jacob became concerned. "Does this mean your mother and I and all your brothers will bow before you?" Nobody understood these dreams yet, but God was quietly revealing Joseph's future. One day, Jacob asked Joseph to visit his brothers, who were taking care of sheep far from home. Joseph happily put on his beautiful coat and began walking. Meanwhile, his brothers saw him coming from a distance, even from far away. They recognized that colorful coat. One brother said, "Look, here comes the dreamer." Another answered, "Let's get rid of him." Can you imagine hearing your own brothers talking like that? Their jealousy had become hatred. At first, some brothers wanted to kill Joseph. But Reuben, the oldest brother, said, "No, let's not kill him." Instead, they grabbed Joseph, pulled off his beautiful coat, and threw him into a deep, empty pit. Joseph cried for help. He begged them to let him out, but they ignored him. Then, as they sat eating lunch, they saw a caravan of traders traveling toward Egypt. Judah had an idea. "Why don't we sell Joseph instead?" The brothers agreed. For 20 pieces of silver, they sold their own brother as a slave. Joseph was taken away, far from home. Never expecting to see his father again, the brothers dipped Joseph's colorful coat into goat's blood. Then they took it home. Jacob immediately recognized it. "My son's coat." He believed a wild animal had killed Joseph. Jacob cried and cried. His heart was broken. Meanwhile, Joseph was very much alive, but he was now a slave in Egypt. At this point, many people might think God had forgotten Joseph, but he hadn't. Even during the hardest moments, God was still with him. Sometimes, when bad things happen, we may wonder if God has abandoned us. Joseph's story reminds us that God is still working, even when we can't see it. In Egypt, Joseph was bought by an important man named Potiphar. Joseph worked hard. He was honest, kind, respectful. Everything he did seemed to succeed. Why? Because God was with him. Soon, Potiphar trusted Joseph with everything in his house. Joseph became the manager of the entire household. What an amazing change, from being a slave to becoming the most trusted servant. But Joseph's troubles weren't over. Potiphar's wife lied about him. Even though Joseph had done nothing wrong, he was thrown into prison. Imagine that. First a pit, then slavery, now prison. It would have been easy to give up, but Joseph kept trusting God. Even in prison, Joseph worked faithfully. The prison guard noticed. Soon, Joseph was helping run the prison. God continued blessing him wherever he went. One day, two prisoners had strange dreams. Joseph explained their meanings with God's help. Everything happened exactly as Joseph said. Years later, Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, had mysterious dreams that nobody could explain. Finally, someone remembered Joseph. He was brought before Pharaoh. Joseph listened carefully. Then he explained. The dreams meant 7 years of plentiful harvest, followed by 7 years of terrible famine. Joseph also gave Pharaoh wise advice. Store food during the good years so people will survive the bad years. Pharaoh was amazed. He said, "Who else has God's wisdom like this?" Then something incredible happened. Pharaoh made Joseph the second most powerful man in all of Egypt. Only Pharaoh himself had more authority. Think about that. The boy who had once been sold as a slave now ruled over an entire nation. Only God could do something like that. Years later, the famine arrived. Food disappeared everywhere, including where Joseph's family lived. His brothers traveled to Egypt hoping to buy grain. When they entered Joseph's palace, they bowed before him, just like in Joseph's dreams years before. But they didn't recognize him. Joseph looked very different now. He wore royal clothes. He spoke like an Egyptian ruler. His brothers had no idea who stood before them. After testing them for a while, Joseph could no longer hide his emotions. He began to cry. Then he said, "I am Joseph, your brother." The brothers froze. They were terrified. Surely Joseph would punish them. But instead, Joseph smiled through his tears. He said something beautiful. "You meant to harm me, but God meant it for good." Joseph forgave them. He invited the whole family to live safely in Egypt. The family was reunited. Jacob finally saw his beloved son alive again. What a joyful day that must have been. So, what can we learn from Joseph? First, jealousy only causes pain. Instead of comparing ourselves to others, we should be thankful for what God has given us. Second, God is always with us. Even during difficult times, Joseph experienced betrayal, slavery, prison, and loneliness. Yet God never left him. Third, forgiveness is powerful. Joseph had every reason to hate his brothers. Instead, he chose love. Finally, God can turn bad situations into something wonderful. Sometimes, we don't understand why difficult things happen. But just like Joseph, we can trust that God has a bigger plan than we can see. Joseph's amazing coat eventually disappeared, but God's promises never did. The colorful coat made Joseph famous for a little while. God's faithfulness made his story unforgettable forever. And that's why, thousands of years later, people around the world are still inspired by the incredible story of Joseph and the amazing coat. If you enjoyed this adventure, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Bible Toons, and join us next time for another amazing Bible story brought to life. See you in the next adventure.